Are you also completely exhausted by the crushing mental burden created by the relentless obsession to control every microscopic detail of your existence? We often search for the elusive key to our happiness in the behaviors of others, the approval of our peers, or external outcomes that remain outside our reach. But have you ever paused to consider that the real problem isn't the chaotic situation you find yourself in, but rather your desperate attempt to grip those circumstances too tightly? The ancient wisdom of Taoism, written thousands of years ago, teaches us a simple yet profound truth. Stop fighting against the current of existence and start flowing with the natural waves of life. You fear that if you loosen your grip even for a second, everything you have built will fall apart and crumble. But the reality is exactly the opposite. Trying to trap life in your closed fist only makes it slip away faster. Just as the tighter you grab water, the more it escapes through your fingers, life also runs away from your force. When we try to dictate every outcome, we create a rigid internal structure that is highly shattered by the slightest change in the wind. This is the paradox of control. The more we seek it, the less we actually have. Why do we crave control so desperately? It is because we are fundamentally terrified of the uncertainty of the future. We want a map for a territory that hasn't been discovered yet. But this very fear hollows us out from the inside, and in the process, we lose our natural spontaneity and our ability to joyfully interact with the world. Remember, true growth comes not from the friction of struggle, but from the grace of balance. The more you push against circumstances, the more the resistance will grow and push back against you. But the moment you become calm and centered, the energy of the universe begins to work in your favor, aligning paths you didn't even know existed. The core principle of the Tao is Wu Wei, which is often translated as action without effort or non-doing. This doesn't mean you become lazy or stop caring. It means you work with intensity, but without the paralyzing attachment to the result. Imagine giving your absolute best in your career, your relationships, and your health, without constantly checking the scoreboard. What would happen? Your mental stress would drop to zero, and ironically, your efficiency would multiply because your mind is no longer cluttered with what-ifs. People often think that surrendering is a sign of defeat or weakness, but in truth, it is a profound understanding of how reality actually functions. It is necessary to leave old versions of yourself and old attachments at every turn, so that space can be made for new opportunities to bloom. Your anxiety doesn't actually come from reality itself. It comes from your mental expectations that refuse to match the truth of what is happening. Peace begins where your expectations and complaints end. When you accept reality exactly as it is, without judgment, you feel weightless. Your mind has become addicted to control because it wants safety. It needs a guarantee for everything, which is why letting go feels like jumping off a cliff. But letting go doesn't mean you stop steering the ship. It means you trust the sea. We often run between two damaging extremes, either wanting to force every outcome or giving up and falling into nihilism. Take the middle path. Be like a master gardener who sows the seed in fertile soil and waters it with care, but doesn't dig it up every single morning to see if it grew. He knows that when the season is right, the fruit will surely appear. Do you also feel that thinking, more analyzing, dissecting, worrying will eventually provide a solution? In reality, overthinking creates a thick fog of confusion, not clarity. The more thoughts you pile onto a problem, the heavier the decision feels until you are paralyzed. Make a simple rule for yourself today. Think less and observe more. When you start seeing things without the filter of your opinion, a wonderful silent peace descends upon the mind. We are a generation that constantly sacrifices today for an imaginary tomorrow. We think we will be happy when we get the promotion, when we find the partner, or when the bank balance reaches a certain number. But the future is just a mental image. You can only ever live in the present moment. If your present is restless and full of friction, your future can never be truly pleasant because you're training yourself to be unhappy. Whenever something goes against your will, try accepting it first instead of instantly fighting it. Resistance increases the pain while acceptance begins the healing process. The day you stop warring with life, your energy will start being saved. And that very power will transform your personality into something magnetic and strong. You fear that leaving control will make you fall behind in this competitive world. But the truth is that a calm mind moves the fastest because it is not weighed down by unnecessary luggage. Most of your daily energy is wasted not in the work you do, but in the internal war going on inside your head. If this internal conflict ends, you will naturally become more successful than you ever imagined. We want to divide everything into neat boxes of right or wrong, good or bad, but life is a constantly changing river. What feels like a bitter setback today can become the very experience that sweetens your future success. Keep your thinking flexible. In nature, the rigid branch breaks in the storm, while the flexible bamboo survives by bending with the wind. Flexibility is real strength, while rigidity is a sign of imminent breaking. Nature never hurries, yet all its complex work is completed perfectly on time. A strong, ancient tree doesn't stand up overnight. Do not rush your progress or feel behind. Just perform your duties honestly every day and trust the timing of your life. Certainty is only a mental illusion. The real thrill and beauty of existence are found in uncertainty. When you embrace this truth, you finally become free. Real change doesn't come from fixing the outside world, which you cannot control anyway, but from changing the reaction within your own heart. What people say about you or how they choose to behave is not in your power, but how you take it, how you process it, and how much weight you give it is entirely your decision. Don't give the key to your internal peace to a stranger or even a loved one. He who has full confidence in his own inherent ability needs to prove nothing to the world. When you give up the exhausting obsession with impressing others, you finally begin to bloom in your true form. Stop comparing your life to others, because comparison's the most efficient thief of your happiness. Focus on your unique journey, not on the superficial shine of others' highlights. When you renounce control over things that aren't yours to control, you finally find yourself. Now you are no longer a slave to anyone's expectations. Happiness should not be a destination. It should not be dependent on any specific condition. In the exact same situation, one person can find reasons to laugh and another can find reasons to cry. It is all a game of your internal perspective. Surrender is not a sign of weakness, but an act of supreme power. When you learn to live with a light hand, a sacred space is created inside you where there is no noise, only profound clarity. Now, you are not a victim of circumstances, but the master of your own responses. This is real freedom. If this message has touched your heart today, don't consider it just another video to be forgotten, but consider it a new beginning for your soul. Liking this video shows that you have consciously chosen a life of flow over a life of stress. Subscribe to our channel, Shadow Clues, now, because here we share not just shallow inspiration, but the right perspective on truly living life. Be sure to tell us in the comments what one worry, one person, or one outcome of your life you are going to let go of completely today, because what you renounce is ultimately what sets you free. Knowledge is not just for hearing, it is for living. Remember, the day you learn to let life happen in its own way, from that day, all your restlessness will turn into a deep, unshakable peace. Stay calm, stay aware, and find your flow.